In this chapter, we will learn some important points regarding registration in GST. So the main points we are covering is advantages of taking registration, threshold limits, persons liable for registration, aggregate turnover, as well as display of registration certificate. So first, let us know what is registration. In any tax system, registration is the most important functions one taxpayer need to do, because they get a GST registration number and it is used for identification of that particular business for tax purpose, as well as any compliance verification system like returns, e-way bill, tax payment, scrutiny. All those things are linked with the GST registration number. Okay, so registration means registration with the GST tax authorities and getting a unique identity number, that is GST identification number for the business. And all the operations and data will be related to this business will be collected, agglomerated and correlated. Okay, means each business will have a separate GST registration number. Then, what are the advantages of taking registration GST? First of all, the business will get a legal status as per GST Act. Suppose you are running a business and you have applied for GST registration and you got a registration certificate. You can quote this registration number which is in the registration certificate in every document, in invoice, in any quotation you are submitting to any government body or any other company, and in all communications you are doing. So others, the public, the government, everybody is getting a confirmation that you are legally registered under the GST law and you will get a reputation. Then only a person who have registered in GST can collect GST. See, whenever you get a bill, you can check in that whether GST registration number is there. If the GST registration number is not there, you have no duty to pay tax to that business. So only with the registration, one business can collect GST. Then input tax credit can be availed. Means, if you are running a business, you are registered in GST, and you are purchasing goods or services like raw materials or any other stationery items maybe, or any other services like telephone bill, internet bill, consultancy services, all those goods and services are coming under GST. So you need to pay tax for such input goods and services. So whatever tax you pay to your suppliers, that you can deduct from your output tax. That is called input tax credit. You will understand it in detail in coming chapter, don't worry. So input tax credit can be availed by a person only when registration is there. Then he can pass on the credit of taxes paid. Means only a person who is registered can allow his buyers to claim input tax credit. Okay, so in any supply chain, GST registration is important for all manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers. And then let us see which are the various classification of persons coming under registration in GST. So there are 4 classifications: registration as per threshold limits, compulsory registration, persons not liable for registration, and voluntary registration. So first classification, registration as per threshold limits. If the business is coming under service or services plus goods category and the turnover is exceeding 20 lakhs in a financial year, they need to take GST registration. And suppose the business is dealing only with the goods, say manufacturing companies or trading companies, Then if their turnover is exceeding 40 lakhs, then they need to do the registration. And how this turnover is calculated? It is calculated across India, okay, which are registered with a single PAN, permanent account number. Okay, so suppose you have business in Tamil Nadu and another, the same business branch is there in Karnataka, another branch in Maharashtra. You have to add the turnover of all three places. Then you need to check whether 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs is crossed. Okay. Then there is some states. There are some states like Mizoram, Tripura, Manipur, and Nagaland, which are called as special category states. For them, 10 lakhs is applicable as threshold limit. Then let us take a case study. Well Wishes Private Limited has two offices, one in Bangalore and another in Chennai. The turnover of Chennai office is 8 lakhs and Bangalore office is 15 lakhs. Whether the company has to take registration? The answer is yes. It is coming under service category. And the Bangalore office has a turnover of 15 lakhs and Chennai office has a turnover of 8 lakhs. So when clubbing together, it comes 23 lakhs, above the threshold limit of 20 lakhs. So they need to take GST registration. Okay, so the aggregate turnover you need to find out. You need to compute the turnover. You need to sum up the turnover of all states. Then, what is aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover is defined under section 2 subsection 6 of the CGST Act, which include taxable outward supplies, exempt outward supplies, exports, interstate supplies of persons having the same PAN to be computed on all India basis, non-taxable outward supplies. So all types of supplies you need to add. And only thing you can exclude is value of inward supplies, which is chargeable to RCM, reverse charge mechanism, as well as taxes like CGST, SSG, UTGST. So all types of supplies need to sum up. Then you need to check the aggregate turnover, whether it is exceeding 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs. Let us come to some examples, then you will understand it clearly. Suppose there is a supermarket. Various types of goods are sold in this supermarket. Okay, and you can find out taxable outward supplies, which has a tax rate of 5%, 12%, 18%, or 28%. And exempt outward supplies like fruits, vegetables, and all. Then export, suppose the supermarket is exporting some goods to any other country, that will be there. Then transfer of goods to another branch in another state, that also should be added. So here, when we are adding all, it comes to 41 lakhs. Okay, so here they need to take GST registration, because the companies whose turnover is exceeding 40 lakhs and dealing in goods has to take mandatory registration. So that is what's regarding supermarket. You consider petrol pump. Non-taxable supplies coming to 35 lakhs turnover, means petrol and diesel is out of GST levy. So it is called as non-taxable supplies. And here taxable outward supplies is there, which is 8 lakhs. So you need to sum up both. 35 plus 8, it comes to 43, and the petrol pump need to take GST registration. Then turnover limits of various states are given. Rupees 10 lakhs is applicable for Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Tripura. Rupees 20 lakhs for both goods and services is applicable for Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, and Telangana. Rupees 20 lakhs for service and rupees 40 lakhs for goods is applicable for Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, and all other states. Then there are some persons who has to take mandatory registration, compulsory registration. Earlier I have told you 20 lakhs and 40 lakhs are applicable. But for this kind of persons, they need to take mandatory registration, like persons making interstate taxable supply, casual taxable persons, persons who are coming under reverse charge mechanism, and persons who are required to pay tax under section 9.5, non-resident taxable person making taxable supply, persons who are required to deduct tax under section 51, that is public sector undertakings and all, then agents and all, input service distributor, then electronic commerce operators or persons who are supplying through these e-commerce operators, then supplier of online information database access or retrieval services from a place outside to a person in India, and any other notified persons. All these persons has to take mandatory registration as per GST law. The turnover is not to be considered. Then let us take a case study for better understanding. Topman's Traders is located in Kerala and is supplying mobile phones to various dealers in neighboring states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, etc. Its aggregate turnover for the financial year is 6 lakhs only. 6 lakhs. Whether they need to take GST registration? The answer is yes. They need to take mandatory registration because they are supplying interstate to another state. Then another case study, Topman Traders again conducting a trade fair, participating in a trade fair in Hyderabad. So it is called as casual taxable person, means doing business for a temporary period, maybe 2 or 3 months in another state. So they need to take registration as a casual taxable person. Then the third category is persons not liable for registration, like agriculturist. Here agriculturist means simply normal small farmers who use their own labor, their family labor, and some servants. And the second category of persons who are not liable for registration is persons supplying exclusively exempted goods or services like vegetables, fruits, and then the fourth category in the GST registration is voluntary registration. There is a registration as per threshold limits, there is registration as per mandatory provisions. Even though a person is not falling under any of these two categories, they can do voluntary registration. Okay, so they can claim input tax credit on GST paid on any purchases, capital goods, or business setup costs. That is advantage. Okay, and as they are filing the returns, the books of accounts will be up to date and accurate. But of course, disadvantage is there. The price will be higher for them and needs to account all GST taxable supplies, and they need to file GST returns, pay the tax on time, otherwise penalties will be applicable, and they cannot claim input tax credit on exempt supplies. So these are the disadvantages. Okay, so voluntary registration simply means if a person is not liable to do registration as per the law, he can still do registration. And where we need to do registration? The state where we are supplying, from which state we are supplying, or where our office is located. Then when to apply? Within 30 days the registration should be done, and the effective date of registration is there. When we apply within 30 days of liability, then date of liability for registration will be the effective date. If we apply after 30 days, the date of grant of registration will be the effective date. Then if we register voluntary, then date of order of the registration. And effective date, let us take one case study. Suppose the threshold limit exceeded on 1st May 2022. Okay, so once you file the GST registration form within 30 days, means 25th May 2022, and approval was received on 28th May. The effective date is 25th May. Then if you apply for registration after 30 days, that is maybe on 10th June, then the approval was received on 13th June. The effective date will be 13th June. And if you register voluntarily, 1st May 2022 application for registration, then approval of registration was done on 4th May. In this case, effective date will be 4th May. So this is one case study on the effective dates. Okay, then prerequisite. See, PAN is mandatory for obtaining registration. Okay, for any person to do GST registration in India. PAN is mandatory except for non-residents. And some other documents like mobile number, email address, all those things, Aadhaar card, all those things are rent agreement, photo, all these documents are there. There is a list of documents which is available, which is should be uploaded in our study material also. Then, for registration of any business, we use different forms. Like GST REG01 is used for regular taxpayer composition scheme, casual taxable person, input service distributor, special economic zone unit or developer, etc. That is, we have a practical exercise in our simulation software. Then GST REG07 is applicable for TDS or TCS persons. GST REG09 for non-resident taxable person. And GST REG10 for online providers. GST REG13 for UN unique identity number bodies like embassies and other foreign departments and all. Then GST REG26 is for application for enrollment of existing taxpayer. It was used when GST was implemented. Then another important thing is there will be a physical verification of business premises, which is mandatory nowadays. So the GST officers will be inspecting your office, will be visiting your office, and they need to upload the verification report along with the photographs and all in form GST REG 30 within 15 days. Only then the approval will be done. And we need to declare our principal place of business and additional place of business. Then issuance of registration certificate, GST REG 06 form is there, which can be provided within 3 working days by the department, and it will be duly signed or verified by the proper officer. Principal place and additional places will be mentioned. GST identification number will be communicated. If there is any query from GST officer, he should raise it within 3 days. Then proper information or documents should be provided by the taxpayer. Then the GST identification number is a 15-character format. The first 2 digits will be the state code. The next 10 digits will be the permanent account number. Next is for entity number, because if a person have a different businesses with a single PAN, then entity number will be used. Then alphabet is set by default, and checksum digit, which is a checking of all other characters, will be the format of the GST identification number. These are the codes given for each state or union territory. Then this is the format of registration certificate, okay, which is provided in form GST REG 06 with all details. Then the display of registration certificate should be done properly on your office, and in all your documents it should be there, like tax invoices, debit notes, credit notes, and all. Then consequence of non-registration. See, if a person is not registered for GST on time, the following things can happen. Means detention of goods and vehicles, confiscation of goods or vehicles. The person cannot claim input tax credit. The person cannot transfer the input tax credit. So these are the consequences. Then let us see what is the penalty for not registration. As per section 122, the penalty can be rupees 10,000 or 10% of the tax due from such person or supplier. Then penalty for late registration is it can be the higher of rupees 10,000 or the total amount of tax evaded by the taxable person, because when we do late registration there is a chance of tax evasion. Then other penalties are like this: penalty for not registering an additional place of business, rupees 25,000. The same penalty can come for not displaying the GST number at the declared business place. So please remember, on your board, display board, you should display your GST identification number. In your office, you should display the GST registration certificate also. Okay, so hope this is clear. Thank you.